Hi, everyone. Welcome to the At Hearts to Mom podcast. I'm Lauren Rose, and today we're talking to Delisa Abraham. She is an empowered leadership coach dedicated to guiding individuals, businesses, and leaders towards transformation and empowerment. As a veteran, she brings the discipline, resilience, and strategic mindset cultivated during her service to empower individuals, businesses, and leaders in their respective journeys. With a degree in the humanities and a postgraduate degree in research, she brings a unique perspective to leadership coaching. Her academic foundation allows her to blend the art and science of leadership, fostering a holistic approach that encompasses both the human aspects and essential strategies needed for effective leadership. In addition to her coaching endeavors, she's proud to be the co-founder of Faith and Sparkles World, a publishing company owned by her and her daughter, Faith. This venture stems from their belief in the power of storytelling and literacy. Through their publications, they aim to inspire and empower individuals to really reach their full potential. Thank you for coming on, Lisa.
Thank you for having me, Lauren, and to everyone listening, welcome and thank you for being here.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your chronic pain and how that all started?
Oh, for about myself, I think you covered it all, which is pretty
Okay.
good. It was a long intro. I apologize for that. But in terms of the chronic pain and how it started, I was in the military. So you heard in the bio that I was a veteran, and there was one time, so I was in the Army and then I went Navy. And before we set sail, and this was during my time in the Navy, I slipped, right? We were putting stores on the ship just before sailing and ended up slipping on the stairs. And this is metal, and
Mm.
metal hurts. Metal and bone do not mix well. So that's how I ended up slipping. Um, that initial time, I didn't necessarily, I felt the pain, but I didn't feel like the lasting effects. And it could have been, in all honesty, just like shock. And then we have to go because my mindset at the time was just like, it doesn't matter. You just have to get it done because you're in the military. And we were sailing for weeks on end. Um, and so that's really where the pain really started. And then, of course, when you're on a ship, when you are moving left, right, there's always movement, so your body is constantly trying to stabilize itself all the
Mm.
time. That in itself is it wreaks havoc on your body, and when you're doing this for years and years, and you're sailing for years at a time, it becomes it just affects the body. So a fall, being on a ship, moving around, and then because I was in a leadership position, your sleep time is always erratic. You're in the military, your sleep time is always erratic. So there are all of those things. And it wasn't until after I retired in 2014, 2014, because I was like, I'm done. I just couldn't do it anymore. My body was feeling tired. Um, and I had my daughter. That's when the pain just was like, boom, it hit. And it was not very good at that time. My body would just be laid down. And I needed, I call it rest days with my daughter, where I just had to like essentially sleep because the body was in so much pain.
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, thank you for your service. That's really cool. You are in two branches of the military. That's very impressive.
Yeah,
So thank you.
you're welcome.
How has your injury affected your ability to parent and maybe your parenting style? I know you have, those rest days you talk about where you just stay in bed all day because you can't get up. I've got plenty of those myself. How else does it affect you?
It is like I suffered from depression and I ended up going to see a psychologist and found out that I had PTSD. I didn't even at that time think that I had it. I didn't even realize that I had depression. And my doctor would offer medications as they do, especially when you're suffering from chronic pain and all of these other mental health issues, right? Um, and I I'm a single parent. I had this my daughter, it was just her and I. My mom is there, but really it's just her and I. And I found that I didn't want to take the medication because sometimes the medication makes you sleepy and I didn't want it to be
Mhm.
dependent on. And that was just me. And I recognized, the medication can be able to, like, it really helps and it supports. But I was like in such a hard place. So I stayed in pain a lot, especially when my daughter was a baby at that time. This was almost 7 years ago, because I was nervous about, you know, being asleep for too long, if that makes
Mhm.
sense, or being dependent on taking what they were offering. And so I moved through that pain, like I just challenged through that pain. And for anyone that suffers through chronic pain, it's hard, especially when the body just doesn't want to move, but you still have to move, and like it takes you a lot longer just even to roll, because sometimes you have to shift your positions. It was hard. I don't know how else to say it, but um, I just essentially championed through it. And that came from my time in the military, because you just have to get it done. So that was like my mindset at that time. So although parts of my mindset was changed in terms of how I was parenting her, I wanted to make sure she had good mental health. I wanted to make sure that the environment that we had was creative for her. So the things that I was playing in the home, the affirmations, the songs, the life-giving words that were being spoken in the home and like in her room specifically, like those prayers, that in itself, I was doing that because I wanted to really strengthen her spirit, strengthen her mind, right, as she grows. um, and as well as for myself, because I had to do that for myself. But then I was going through my own challenging piece that I was holding on to, just going through it, right? Like, no, it just
Mhm.
needs to get done. That needs to get done. But it wasn't until I got the support that I needed and recognized, like, and finding a better rhythm that worked for me to help me to do this. And when I needed the rest, to take the rest. And sometimes it can last 3 days. Sometimes it could be a day, sometimes a few hours. But if I need it, I take it.
And I think that's really important. One tip I always have for people is to listen to your body. And if your body needs to rest, if it's telling you, I can't physically handle more activity, I think that's really important to do. So your daughter's almost 7 now, you said.
Yes.
Um, how do things work now that she's a little older instead of being an infant? And what strategies do you have to kind of manage everything you have to do to be a mother and a single mother, no less, plus
Mhm.
having all these, your coaching
Mhm.
and your publishing company, yet
Yeah.
still having to parent? Like, how do you do all that?
That's an excellent question. There are days I wonder myself, but I do time blocking, I will say. And so, in terms of the coaching services that I do, or even having interviews such as this, I'm there Monday to Friday, but at very specific times. I dedicate certain times. And then there are days where even if I'm available for a particular time, the calendar is not going to be super filled because I blocked off certain chunks. I do have a team that supports me in other areas. So I'm not focused in on the admin task.
Mhm.
They're doing most of that for me, which is, I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to do that. And my daughter, she was homeschooled. She is homeschooled right now. She's going through a trial in a forest school. So we're thinking maybe part of the time going to the forest school, which is still regular school, but they spend most of their time outdoors. And the other part doing the homeschool, which is great because with homeschooling, you're not doing work for like 6 hours in a school. Like in the school setting, you're doing math, English, this and that, versus like when you're home, you don't need 30 minutes to do one topic. I mean, you can, but it's not necessary, right? Because you're doing certain works and then you're applying it in real time, and you don't have to do everything in one day. It can be broken up, and then you can go in different places. So the time management is absolutely key. And I do set boundaries also for myself now that she's
Mm.
older. Like if I need time for myself, which is very important, okay, I need this time. Like I need this hour, don't bother me.
Mm.
She's still around, obviously, or sometimes she goes visit her grandmom and stuff. But and I go out with my friends. But really, it's like this is my time. I need to be alone. Unless there's like a massive emergency, yeah, you'll be okay for 60 minutes.
And how has she dealt with that as she's grown up with you having chronic pain? Because my daughter, she just turned 11,
Yeah.
and all she's known is a mom with chronic pain. And what I've noticed about her is that she's very nurturing. She,
Yes.
if I'm having a really bad day, she'll,
Yeah.
ask if I need anything, or she's very good about letting me, lie on the bed and play dolls with her instead of getting on the floor. Or if I need to walk somewhere, she'll take her little hand and put it out and help me off of the couch and help me
Yeah.
walk wherever I need to go. So I'm just curious what your daughter's like.
Very similar to your daughter, indeed. Absolutely. I found that she's more empathetic. And we used to have
Mm.
a dog, Sparkle, and as well, she just passed. But because of like having the pup, our pup there, my mom was sick with cancer at one time. I found that because she is surrounded by all of these challenges that she's seeing others that she loves, like health challenges that she's seeing others that she loves experience. She, similar to your daughter, very empathetic, extremely kind, and super helpful. And at the same time, recognizing, oh, you need bound, like there's space. You need your space because then she'll want to come, and I'm sure your daughter's like this, Lauren, right? They want to come and hug you and they want to give you this big, huge hug. And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes you have to say, okay, slow it
Mm.
down, let's hug gently, right? And,
Yeah.
and she completely understands. And because of that, and correct me if I'm wrong with you, if your daughter is the same way too, when she's interacting with other children in any of her other programs and such, she recognizes the boundaries and the space to be able to give people space. And that if you give people space, maybe your friend wants space, for example, that doesn't mean they don't like you or that you're not a good person. It just means that they need space. So she understands boundaries and space a lot more better because versus perhaps another child that is 6 or 7 years old because of the experience she had her entire life.
Yeah, what I've also noticed about my daughter is she's very intuitive when it comes to how people are feeling. Like one time she asked me, what was wrong, and I was like the typical, "Oh, nothing, I'm fine." "Mommy, you're not fine. I know
Yeah,
something's wrong." And so she can do that with her friends too. She's like, "I
yeah,
knew that so and so was upset today and that they looked sad." And so
yeah.
she'll kind of lean into that and try to talk to them about it.
100. Oh my goodness, you hit the hammer on the nail. 100%. As they're so. I use the word empathetic, and they are. They just know. They can sense it. Even if the teacher is having a bad day, they will know. Children that grew up with parents that may have chronic pain, or even any health issues, they just understand and they could see it. Like they could
Mm.
see their spirit, right? The invisible, they could see into the invisible
Yeah.
and they know what you would need at that time.
I think that's really cool. And I love just hearing that, other children are becoming the same way, because I think that's going to serve them really well as they become even older, to be empathetic and nurturing and intuitive about other people's feelings and not be so focused on themselves, because children are typically very self-centered. And I don't mean that like in a selfish way. That's
No,
just
yeah,
the whole world revolves around them. They're the child. That's really what they know.
yeah.
So I think that's a really good lesson to learn for kids.
Well, and for adults as well, right?
Ah, yeah,
Yeah, there's
true.
a lot of adults, but you're so, I agree 100%. And we're living in such a time. We grew up in this generation where it was um, like in the old handwritten way, and then into the computer. So we had this transition, right? And it was easier for us to flow. Our children now, this generation and beyond, they're growing up in a computerized artificial intelligence world. And empathy, being intuitive, means something completely different versus our understanding of it. And so when children are surrounded, either maybe they have pets or like grandparents who are older, or even their parents, one of their parents might be going through a chronic pain situation, such as us, um, and some members of your audience, they understand like how to read people's through their expressions. through emotions, through their tonality, like how they're speaking, and they can see the spirit, the heart of a person without anyone saying anything. And so as a leadership coach, I teach people these things, right? How do you speak and stand? How do you read nonverbal cues? How do you do all of these things? And what will serve this generation and beyond is for them to understand that are experiencing this in the home, and they're going through this. They are getting the it's a hard knocks training, but this is what's going to serve them because there's a whole generation out there that will need their
Mhm.
experience, their services to help them to be able to process um, empathy and sympathy and being able to lead a team properly or even their home properly, right? Understanding boundaries, all of these things. I get excited about this, so I hope you don't mind. I went on and
Mhm.
on and on.
No, that's no, that's great. So let's kind of jump into leadership because I know you talk about parental leadership. So talk about what that is and why that's important. What does that look like?
Oh, Lauren, you are like, I have to adjust myself. I'm sorry. This is my bread and butter. I love this topic 100%.
Cool.
So, parental leadership is exactly like what it sounds like, parents that are leading their home, their children. And uh, what I found is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, even it doesn't matter if you're in a leadership position or not, we all need to lead ourselves. And when you have a home in a marriage, there's someone that's like there's the leader at one time, like it's alternating, right? You're co-leading, you're leading the family. Um, and so what I found was that in leadership, people would separate their work and how they lead and not apply to their home. And it has the
Mm,
same structures. When you're leading a team, you want them to be successful. Well, if you look at your home and your family life, they're a unit. You guys are a team. And so if you want your team to thrive, to thrive,
mm,
um, then you want to encourage every single person, right? As the leader, so as the parents. And then you look at each child. Where do you need cultivation? Where do you need nurturing? Where do you need that support? And not only where do I need it, but how can I support you? How can I support you? That will help you thrive. So that means that they have to start communicating in a very different way. It's not just the children communicating and telling the parents everything, it's now the parents communicating and having a conversation like they would any member of their team on their work, right? But recognize, of course, they are children and they're just certain things, right? You're having that conversation with them so then they can trust you. They can share with you what is in their heart, what is their purpose, and vice versa. They will also be able to support you in your goals, whatever your goals it like may be. It could be I want a garden, right? Well, you need the support of your family. You want them in that garden with you, to help with the planting and the growing and the sowing. And now it becomes a successful unit. The bond has strengthened, the relationships has strengthened, and everyone is still growing individually and like achieving their own goals, whatever it is, wherever they are in life, but you're doing it as a team. And so this is how parental leadership, something that's rarely spoken about, is such a necessity in the home. And we also live in such a time where parents are so busy. And there's zero judgment here, please. Zero judgment. They're so busy that they don't have the time, or they think that they don't have the time to properly lead the home because they assume leadership is for somebody that's other than they are a CEO of a big company, you're a VP of that company, you're an entrepreneur, you're this or you're that. And really, it starts with you in your home. It starts with you, mom. Even if you have chronic pain, remember you are there. You are a leader in the home. Yes, your husband, your wife, you know, um, is there with you, and you guys are the leaders together. But remember, you have people that are looking to you. They're watching you. They're following you.
And that's also true. And I think sometimes we forget that as parents just because parenting is so busy and just so difficult. But it just kind of makes me think on like how we parent, and I hope that we're being good parental leaders. I know that sometimes, like when it comes to chores for instance, or an opinion about something, like we'll ask our daughter and we'll get her involved with chores and things, and she'll say, why do I have to do this, or why do you care what I think? And my response, or our response, is because you're an important part of this family,
Yes.
and your opinions are valid and we need you to contribute, and we all need to do certain things. And so like how would I know if we're doing a good job being parental leaders? What is that? Is there like criteria? Is it like my daughter communicates well with us and vice versa, we have a good healthy relationship? Kind of, what does that look like?
Well, it's all of those things that you're talking about, but you know what the best part is? You have allowed your daughter not only to gain autonomy, but to use her voice to ask you to question why.
Yeah.
Why do you care about why do you care about my thoughts? Why do you care about what I think? Why do you want me to do this? Right? And your response, you didn't react, but you responded with, you are part of this home. It's something as simple. You are part of us. You are part of this team, and we have to do it together. So there's that. And the other step is as your children grow. So this is, you start doing this, and children love to ask questions when they're like 2, 3, 4, however old. Like, but why? But
Yeah.
why? Well, give them the explanation. Why? Why do I have to go to school? Well, you know what? Why do I have to go to work? Right? And I got to go to work because you got to go to school because, right? Or whatever the situation is. And then when they reach teenagers or preteen, then that's like a whole other ball game, and you're getting to that space now, right? There's a different
Yeah.
level of whys. It's not like the element, well, it's not the younger version of a child why, right? It's more of, but why? Is this really necessary, right? You laugh. I know you're feeling that. It's exactly how you responded is that is the right leadership. You're explaining to them the why. Because when they go out there, half of the time, many, I would say 90% of the teenagers that go and they're doing a work, or young adults that are venturing out on their own after they go to college or university or whatever, wherever, they don't know how to use their voice and they don't have the autonomy. And so that stage, the preteen stage, the teen stage, as a parent, when they're asking you why, they're giving you attitude, you jump in right then, right? Not to be judgmental and to react, but to respond and say, oh, hey, we are a team here, right? This is going to work together. I'm helping you, you're helping me. And so there's all of this dynamics. And guess what? They will start, their perspective is shift, their mindset is different. And when they go out there in their school, in their program, and they start seeing how other children treat their parents, they see how other home units function, they start appreciating more the autonomy that they have, the independence that they have, but the fact that they also have a strong, united support system in their parents and in their home, which is giving them the foundation and the stability to thrive in life.
And that's what I really want, because I know she is a preteen and teenagers can often be really difficult, but um, I do want her to, number one, always feel safe at home,
Yes.
not just physically, but emotionally safe and spiritually safe.
Mhm.
And I also want her, as she grows, I hope that she does appreciate all the things that we provide her for her in that safe space, such as her ability to express her emotions or her opinions. And when you're talking about the why question, like one of my biggest pet peeves is when a child asks why and the parent says, because I said so.
Mhm.
That makes me crazy. And sometimes it's like, okay, go do the task, go put your socks in the hamper and then come back and ask why. Don't ask why to try to get out of doing it.
Mhm.
But I think answering their questions is really important. Otherwise, they're just going to feel like we're blowing them off and that we don't care about their questions and what they think.
Mhm. 100%. I agree. I will give you a great example with my daughter Faith. Where were we? Oh, we went to this play place, and she was with some other friends or something like that. And then she says to me, "But why are you grumpy?" Because what did I say? I'm like, we're gonna have to leave in like 15 minutes. But they have like the time blocks, right? So her thing is, "But why are you grumpy?" Right? And I'm like, "Why am I grumpy? You have to leave in 15 minutes. It's not me that's saying it. This is the rules." And she's like, "Well, you just sound grumpy." Now all of a sudden it switched, "But you just sound grumpy." So I was like, "Well, boo-hoo, your mother is so horrible. Oh my goodness, she's telling you you have 15 minutes left and this is the boundaries that you have." And then all of a sudden she looks at me like, "Are you serious?" Like she's looking around. And I go, "You want to make a scene about it? I'm going to make a scene about it because I am not being this horrid, mean person." Now, this is just a
Yeah.
very simple example that I'm using, but sometimes we have to make it just like a funny moment of like, but why do I have to? So we all got to do it. We got to go. Or I'm feeling tired. And yeah, anyways.
I know kids are so funny, but I try to remind my daughter too that she's got it pretty good. She was watching
Yes.
a YouTube video the other day and it was like, put a finger down for all these things. It was see how strict your parents are. And
Yeah. Yeah.
she didn't have that many fingers down. I said, see, we're fairly cool parents. We're not that
Yeah.
strict. I mean, we've got certain boundaries and certain rules to,
Yeah.
keep her safe,
Mhm. Of
mentally,
course.
emotionally, physically, that and sometimes we can be overprotective because we're trying to keep her safe. But as far as
That's
just
right.
being at home, like she's got a lot of autonomy that I think
Yes.
she doesn't realize she has right now. And I,
Oh,
I do try to remind her of that.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I love when they have like, put your hand down if your parents are this. Put your hand out.
Yeah.
And my daughter does the same thing. But I watch it with her. I'm listening because it's just like in the background. She's too young for her to like be on a phone by herself and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but your daughter's older, so she's different. But like, yeah, when I see that, I said, "Oh wow, I guess I'm just this perfect parent." I make a joke about it. I guess I'm so perfect now.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, I think we're pretty cool parents. And she's kind of like, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe we're not cool to you, but we're not that bad. You've got
Yeah,
you've got lots of autonomy that you don't that some of your other friends and people that don't have.
exactly. And that's such a huge thing, especially now, um, teaching our children how to communicate. And I find that if like, well, we have chronic pain, our children communicate so differently because they recognize it's how they say something that will affect, like they're considerate about the emotions and all of these things. So how they communicate, it's like a different level of communication. That's what I found.
Mm, that's pretty impressive. I mean, for a small child, and I've been very impressed with my daughter, even from an even younger age, that she seems to understand in her own way when I'm in a lot of pain and can't do things. And so I've been very impressed by that, the fact that a child can really, I guess, see how badly I'm doing, but also understand it to the extent that her little brain can understand it. And to
Mhm.
the extent that someone without chronic pain can understand it.
And yes, yes, 100%. And they tend to be so considerate in terms of recognizing, I will play with you, or we can go to there are certain times, like certain activities, maybe we're feeling a little better, but going out to sit in the park while they're playing on certain days might be a bit too much. But going to the pool might be better because the pool is weightless and so it's easier
Mhm.
to move and they can still have fun and swim, and they're surrounded by other kids and playing, and we can still move around in the pool, not as much, but to just have that movement and to share those times with them. And so doing some of the activities might be slightly different, but then they're still exposed to certain things, and then they recognize, okay, you need this in this moment, for example. Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed is, at least about my daughter, is that the biggest thing for her is just me being present with her.
Yes.
So, like, a lot of times when I'm having a really bad day, I'm just lying on the couch and she wants to play a board game, for instance. She'll put the game on the TV tray and I just literally just lie there. She moves the pieces, she's, rolls the die or whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't have to do anything except be there for her and be there with
Mhm.
her and give her attention. And
Yes.
that's so crucial.
Yes. So it's such a good point. And then because we can still talk, we'll say, "Stop cheating." They don't like that. "I'm not cheating." I'm like, "Well."
Yeah, I don't think I have to worry about that. If my daughter cheated, she's got such a big conscience that I guess a guilty conscience. She would be like, "Okay, mommy, 2 times ago I cheated. I did
Yeah,
this," and so
yeah. Yeah, that's what Faith does the same thing too. But like this is with snakes and ladder, I mean, right? Because she doesn't want you to come in
Mhm,
front, and then she'll be like, "What am I gonna do? Wait, I need to have more turns. I need to have more turns."
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if this is a weird question, but I'm just curious. Do
Mhm.
you in any way resent the fact that you got injured and developed chronic pain, or is there something good that you've noticed that came out of it?
That's a really good question. For my end, it helped shape where we are today. Um, my relationship with my daughter, the support that we're receiving, all of those things, it helped. So I don't resent. I'm not feeling angry. Um, I'm not mad because I also see how this has supported our growth together and our journey together. And I'm not saying that it's the best thing that happened, because nobody wants that, nobody wants to experience this or go through this. But at the same time, I recognize, hey, because my perspective has shifted and I get this opportunity to really appreciate her, and she gets this opportunity to also appreciate me, and we can grow together. Um, that in itself is what I focus on versus of like, well, this happened, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, at first, when I developed the physical body pain, I was very angry at my own body. I was really depressed, but I was also really angry. I felt like, I mean, I was only 30 in my mid 30s, and
Yeah,
I felt like my body was betraying me with the arthritis. I'm like, I am too young for this, and that's what
yeah,
my doctors would say. And but now it just I think has helped, like you said, kind of shape my daughter and shape our relationship. And so I don't feel that anger anymore. There are days
yeah.
that a lot of days I wish that it weren't the case.
Hmm.
But if you dwell on that, that's just
Yeah,
gonna set you up for being miserable your whole life.
100%. Yes, and you don't want to be miserable your whole life, right? So you have to shift the perspective and just yeah. I will say, after I had my daughter, there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of tears for a lot of things because it was like everything that happened in once. So it was just, and I was very sensitive. Like sometimes my mom would say something, um, and I would just feel like horrible about myself. And you just had a baby, so it's like your whole body changes, your whole mind changes, your everything changes, everything's changing, and then you have to deal with chronic pain, and then you have to deal with raising a child alone, and then you have to deal with a whole new baby that you have no idea what to do with, and all of and. Um, and at the time, I was on leave from my work. I was working in corporate, and I was an executive administrator. So I worked with VPs and CEOs in the different departments. But, anyways, I wanted to go back to work right away after I had my daughter. which made no sense at all. But I did. I figured like this is what that mindset that I had with the military. Just you got to get it done. You need to do it. This is the way. This is the path. That's what you have to do. And I had to really diverge and shift my mindset and cry those tears for like a year and more, and more. And then finally, I retired from my work. I didn't return. I just retired because I really wanted to spend the time with my daughter and the pain and all of those other things that helped me to make that decision to say, you know what, no, I'm not going back. Like who is going to raise her? And so of course sacrifices are made, and financial is always a huge piece in it. Yeah. So yes.
I think that's a really good perspective. So as we wrap up, like what's maybe one piece of advice that you would want to give to parents with or without chronic pain, whichever you prefer?
Hmm. I mean, so this could be applied to either, right? If you have chronic pain or you're just a mom, not just a mom, if you have
Yeah.
chronic pain or not have chronic pain, you have children, you have a family, really think about how you are leading your home. How are you leading your home with your partner? And what type of children you want to raise and have. And the reason why I say this is because when we look to the future, it's 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 looking rough, but there is hope. And the type of children that we're going to raise, the leaders of the next generation is in your home. They're in my home. So let's lead them accordingly. Let them know that, and let's build that foundation for them to support them. So when they get out there and they're living in their purpose, they're able to thrive and also stand.
Oh, I think that's really beautiful. So where can we get more information about you and about everything that you do?
Absolutely. Yes, you can connect with me at Faith and Sparkles World. Lauren, I'm going to give you a free, like to your audience, a free book, which is called The Transformational Leader. And the stuff in this book is so great because what you can do is you read it and you could apply it either to your life in whichever, if you're in an office or at work, but also you can have it in your home. It's about the transformational leader. It's talking about their mindset. It's talking about how you lead, and this will help you.
Very cool. Are you on social media? You do that?
Yes, at Faith and Sparkles World. Yes, you could follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn at Faith and Sparkles World.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me on, and to everyone listening, thank you for being here. And yeah, definitely click the link, download this resource. It's a very short read, but it's a transformative read.
Okay, great. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any health, parenting, or life advice. For my freebie, 30 ways to relieve pain without taking a pill, go to ithurtstomom.com/tips. If you have comments, suggestions, or want to be on this podcast, email me at ithurtstomom@gmail.com. I wish everybody a blessed and pain-free day.